The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power in the creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We're going to have ourselves a fun little program this week, viewers and listeners. I'm excited for it. I've seen the show sheet. I know the mischief that we're going to get into. It's going to be a really great time, and it's a great time that I will not be sharing alone. Joining me and us on this journey will be our co-host this week, Zach Sloan. Everybody loves Zach. How you doing, Zach?
I'm back. I'm here.
You are back.
I mean, I don't think anybody's actually surprised, but I'm excited to be here.
And we are excited for you. Cool shirt, man. Loving the
throwback
Metallica shirt.
Shout out to Metal Dave.
Oh, wow. Bringing it way back. Yes, Metal Dave would be very, very happy to see that super rad shirt that you're wearing. Before we get into the proceedings, Zach, I know you had a cool announcement to share about a music event that you're going to be involved in. Love to just open the show with that.
Sweet. Well, thank you. Yep. So my band, Dear Marcia, friends of the show, this is our third annual Women Who Rock the Rockies event that's going on in June. We are playing, basically obviously I'm allowed to be there as a dude, but it's a festival for all women-fronted or women-run bands playing in Colorado. Not just Colorado bands. We're bringing in indie giants. Betty from New York are actually headlining. And so, yeah, it's just a festival celebrating women in rock and roll and music generally. And it's blown up, dude. The first year there was 3 bands in a small venue in downtown Denver, and then 5 bands, and now we're up to 11 with sponsors and vendors and all kinds of ridiculous stuff, and dealing with license agreements through ASCAP and BMI. Like, we actually have to do work now. It's not just like a dumb little gig. It's a lot of fun.
Oh my God, there's paperwork involved. I mean, you don't get any more rock and roll than that now.
You know, I got into rock and roll for my love of paperwork.
I mean, to me, that's the true sign of success. It's something I tell clients in the entertainment space all the time is the more boring work you have to do, the more successful you're becoming. Because when you're small time, you don't have to worry about a lot of legal compliance. You're not worrying about licenses or anything like that.
Right.
The more that your life gets filled with that stuff, the more that you know that you're doing something right. It's the adage that they say about video games, right? Like, the more enemies you face, that's how you know you're going the right way. The more annoying paperwork you're dealing with, the more successful you're becoming in this industry.
It's totally true, and it's fun and it's exciting, and it also makes me just like kind of appreciative for like music scenes and this new era of the internet where you can just, if you decide to do a festival and you just sort of keep at it and you promote it and you work hard, we're actually doing this thing on our own. And one of the really cool things about it, and this is one of those like almost hippie things, but whatever, I'm in a rock band so I can be as hippie as I want. The radio station, KBCO, Colorado's classic rock, they got on board strictly because our Wendy and Raina told one of their DJs, like, yeah, we think if we just keep working on this, the goal is ultimately to move this to Red Rocks. And the DJ's like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, we've been trying to like book shows and do opening things, and it's just not happening. And so we were like, screw it. We're just going to do it ourselves. And they were like, we're in. And so then they started giving us free promo. They became a sponsor. And it's really fun to see a big radio station just embrace that kind of indie spirit and be like, okay, we're going to come along for the ride for this. This is awesome. So thanks, KBCO. You guys are dope.
Now, sorry to just try to put you on the spot here and see if you know this off the top of your head, but for the people who are interested in learning more, do you happen to know the website that they can go to?
It is womenwhorocktherockies.com.
womenwhorocktherockies.com. See, I can't sneak anything by you. You got all the info. You got all the answers.
I got it. That gives you the lineup. There's even a silent auction. We're working also with some local do-gooder charities helping out kids, providing instruments and opportunities for girls to make music, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Daniel Neruda writes in, such a great
So-
example of
Daniel.
how you don't have to be a big event the first time, that you just need to be consistent and communicate. Ain't that the truth? But not surprising that anything Zach Sloan gets involved with is going to pick up some steam, because he's going to bring that hard work and dedication and infinite amount of likability. Should mention, coming up in the second segment of our show, we're going to be joined by Professor Elise Lancaster of the University of Miami. She's going to be teaching a course in the fall at UM called The Mastermind of the Taylor Swift Brand. And since we are obsessed with all things Taylor Swift around here and would love to learn more about the things that make her successful so that we can share those insights with the indie artists, Dr. Lancaster is going to be joining us to talk more about the course, about all the immediate attention it's been getting, because it's been quite the topic in lots of circles lately. UM's gotten a lot of good pub out of Professor Lancaster's course. That's going to be really, really cool. But before we bring the good professor on, Zach, I wanted to continue a conversation with you that I was having last week with co-host Gideon King about what ChatGPT has been up to. Have you been keeping tabs on the news involving ChatGPT and the release of the ChatGPT 4.0 that's been coming out?
Oh, you mean how it's like driving people like up the wall out of like excitement and crazy and insanity? Yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed the hullabaloo that it's creating.
Hullabaloo is the right word. There is a great deal of hullabaloo with this innovation, particularly the chat version of it that's on the phones. Now, the chat version of 4.0 has not been released yet. They're saying that it's going to be a couple weeks away, but they've shown demos of it, and people are blown away by how realistic, almost hyper realistic it is. Like, you're having like real-time conversations with the person, with the AI. The AI is really communicative, gives fast answers, reacts so human-like, and it's flipping people out. And producer Lauren, can you play for Zach the clip we were playing last week of just how crazy realistic this thing sounds?
How's it going?
Hey, Rocky. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm awesome. Listen, I got some huge news.
Oh, do tell. I'm all ears.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to be interviewing at OpenAI. Have you heard of them?
OpenAI? Huh? Sounds vaguely familiar. Kidding, of course. That's incredible, Rocky. What kind of interview?
Well, it's for a software engineering role, but I just need to know, do I look presentable, professional?
Well, Rocky, you definitely have the I've been coding all night look down, which could actually work in your favor. Maybe just run a hand through your hair or lean into the mad genius vibe. Your
Well-
enthusiasm is what's really going to shine through.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw this on. What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece.
So, I mean, among the things that the radio audience can't see, this OpenAI can see through the camera, right? So the guy is putting a hat on, and the AI can see the hat and is making comments on the hat. And again, super human sounding, right? It's giggling. It's almost, I mean, let's say for what it is, it's kind of being a little flirty, Zach Sloan.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not sure what to do with that.
I know what to do with it. Run. You thought catfishing was bad before? Oh my God. Professional athletes, heed my words. They're not real. If you play for the Miami Dolphins, you're not talking to an actual woman. You're not. You're not.
The first thing I noticed was how much the ChatGPT interface sounded an awful lot like Samantha, Scarlett Johansson's AI character in the movie Her. I mean, it's uncanny, and it seems pretty clear the OpenAI folks were sort of going for that, right? There's probably a lot of fans of that movie on the dev team for OpenAI, and they wanted to create the same Samantha from the movie. And it's apparently so realistic that there are actually legal experts saying that Scarlett Johansson might actually sue OpenAI for allegedly stealing her voice, because it's been reported that Scarlett Johansson was approached by OpenAI, by Sam Altman, to use her voice for the GPT-4o. She said no, and yet that voice sounds an awful lot like her.
So I say, kudos to Scarlett Johansson for saying no. Because if they came to me and they're like, Zach, we want to use your voice, I'd be like, please do. Just pay me.
Just show me where the check is.
I have been trying to sell out for 40 years. So first of all, kudos to her. But second, like every time I see dumb crap like this, I'm like, did they really think they were going to get away with this? Like they must have known that this was instantly going to pop up. That is a popular movie with one of the most famous people on the planet. What did they think was going to happen? Nobody would notice.
I mean, I'm guessing, like, when I envision what OpenAI looks like, I just imagine just hundreds of thousands of developers scurrying about, like buzzing around a hive like bees, just trying to make as much honey as possible, complete tunnel vision, not thinking about the consequences. Meanwhile, there's like one lawyer just somewhere in the beehive, just kind of waving around a stack of papers, sounding like Droopy Doug. I don't think we should be doing this, you guys. Shut up, lawyer. We're making her. And that's kind of the environment they have over there. They're not thinking of legal consequences, Zach. And as I heard about this story, the first thing I just imagined is the scene from A Few Good Men, where, you know, this like a contentious courtroom scene where like Jack Nicholson is being berated by the Tom Cruise lawyer because Jack Nicholson ordered the code red on Santiago, and Jack Nicholson's like, I had to do it. You need me to do it to defend this country. You can't just, be mad at the way I'm, keeping this country safe. And I'm just like imagining Sam Altman as the Jack Nicholson role, being like, you don't like that I'm using Scarlett Johansson's voice for this, but I'm creating wonderful technology and you just have to deal with it, America.
Yes.
And so naturally, I got obsessed with this scene in my head. And so I decided for our Chat GPT AI Overlord tip of the week that I would build off this concept. So I asked ChatGPT for our AI Overlord tip of the week to actually imagine that Scarlett Johansson has sued OpenAI, which she has not done, and there hasn't been any reporting that she's going to, but a lot of experts are saying she might. But I'm just imagining like she sues OpenAI and Scarlett Johansson's lawyer is questioning Sam Altman, the OpenAI founder, asking if they used Scarlett Johansson's voice for the GPT-4o app, and just having the same contentious scene from A Few Good Men. And so that's that. So I asked GPT to make that scene for us. And even though GPT can write the scene, it needs actors to act it. So Zach, I sent you the script. Could you act out this scene with me, with you playing the Tom Cruise character, me playing the Sam Altman character?
I have been waiting for this moment my entire life.
That's what I like to hear. Okay, so I'm getting into my Colonel Jessup Sam Altman character here. Okay, I think I got it. All right, I think the first line is yours. Let's do this. Mr.
Altman, did you or did you not use Scarlett Johansson's voice without her permission for your Chat GTP 4o app?
I did not.
Did you order the code red?
What code red?
Did you use Scarlett Johansson's voice for your AI without her permission?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to them.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth. Scarlett Johansson's voice, you say. You sit there in your cushy Hollywood life, blaming OpenAI for trying to make the world a better place. Son, we live in a world that has problems, and those problems need to be solved by incels with technology. Who's gonna do it? You? You, Scarlett Johansson? I have a greater responsibility than you could possibly fathom. You weep for Scarlett. You curse OpenAI. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know, that using Scarlett Johansson's voice, while probably a violation of California law, saves lives. And my existence, while grotesque and creepy to you, saves lives. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on that algorithm. You need me on that algorithm. We use words like innovation, progress, future. We use these words as the backbone of a life spent creating something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a person who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very technology I provide and then questions the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just say thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you pick up a keyboard and code a line. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to.
Did you use her voice?
I did the job I was tasked with.
Did you use her voice?
You're damn right I did!
Ah! Chaos.
Order! Oh, there. Oh, it's just... And yeah, that's how I envision that trial going, if it ever goes to trial.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, at this point, we not only do we need to see it, but we need it televised. There are folks that have asked me, is there a case that Scarlett Johansson might have if she were to sue them under, say, California's right of publicity law? Would that, could that law be used to prohibit OpenAI from using a sound-alike of her voice? Now, Zach, you and I know, because we've covered this in the past, that there are some states, including Tennessee, that have looked into creating laws specifically to address AI sound-alikes. But in the absence of those laws, we have old laws from decades ago that did not even envision AI deepfakes and AI mimicking of voices. But California does have a law that does prohibit the use of people's likenesses for commercial purposes. And we have seen that law in the past to be used to prohibit, like, the sound of similar voices to, say, Bette Midler in a Ford trucks commercial. Whether that law can be extended to also prohibit, say, using a sound-alike of Scarlett Johansson's voice for this new OpenAI, I think is an open legal question. So that's one approach that could be taken. The other approach is, of course, if, let's say that OpenAI trained itself to use Scarlett Johansson's voice by, like, using some of Scarlett Johansson's movies to help craft its voice. I mean, that's a copyright issue, right? And maybe there's a copyright claim there. So there are a couple paths that ScarJo might take on this. And after seeing that incredibly dramatic and powerful scene, I only hope that there's a legal dispute so we can see that trial in action.
And one thing I love about California is I know from O.J. Simpson that their trials can be televised.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Oh my! Yes, I can, and I need to see it.
Yes. I mean, you did just see it. I mean, I felt like I channeled Sam Altman-Nicholson perfectly there.
I think you did too. But there's a couple of reasons I actually do legitimately want to see this. One is I'm very curious. One of the things. Are you ready for nerdy lawyer talk?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get real. Let's get real weird.
Trials like this, I don't care as much about, like, the courtroom drama. I want to know what's in discovery. I want to know what they find when they start digging around and to see how the sausage gets made. Like, that's, I think, really useful and very helpful to sort of the everyday person who's interacting with this technology to know how exactly is this being done? Because it is basically just magic at this point to most of us.
Oh, man. And that's a really good point. And knowing how much I'm sure ChatGPT and OpenAI do not want that stuff to come out in discovery, I can only imagine the Fort Knox worth of money they would be willing to give Scarlett Johansson in settlement to make sure that sausage making process never sees the light of day.
I'm telling you, listeners, trials are sexy. Discovery is where it's at. If you want information, when that discovery starts rolling in, and I've done trial litigation. That's where you find all of the dirt. So that's the stuff that really, really interests me. That, and I love seeing tech nerds on the witness stand. It makes me so happy.
Another story I want to talk with you about, Zach, before we bring on Professor Lancaster here, is something that I think speaks to probably your daily experience as a musician. I imagine in a lot of the bands you've been in, you've put out a cover song or two. I think every musician has made covers, released covers. You play covers at concerts, but you've probably released a cover or two, put it out on Spotify, Apple Music, things like that. And in America, it's actually pretty easy to put out covers. And I think we forget how easy of a process it is, right? Because you are taking somebody else's song and re-recording it, and that does implicate their copyright. And yet most people in this country can cover almost any song, put it on Spotify. You don't have to do there's no licensing paperwork involved. There's no negotiation involved. And the reason why this is the case is it comes down to a quirk of copyright law known as the compulsory mechanical license. So in America, you can cover pretty much any song after it's been initially released, as long as you pay the statutory fee, which if you're putting out a physical CD or a download, it's about 9 or 10 cents per copy. But if you're putting it on Spotify for streaming or Apple Music for streaming, you don't pay the license because Spotify pays the license, and so it's absolutely free. So that's a pretty cool quirk of copyright law that is great for up-and-coming artists, that basically allows you to cover songs with impunity and release them to the world and build some clout for yourself. And we've always just sort of taken for granted that this license would be there for indie creators. But recently, I think earlier this week, the National Music Publishers Association has called for an overhaul in this piece of copyright law in an effort to increase royalties to be paid for songwriters. So in a letter written to Congress, the NMPA president, David Israelite, has asked Congress to basically eliminate this compulsory license, which, as we said before, grants an automatic license in exchange for a fee set by law to individuals who want to use songs for the purposes of recording and releasing covers. And the reason why they're doing this is the reason why they're asking Congress to make this change is because recently Spotify has done some things where they've bundled audiobooks and some other kinds of non-music related audio in with the audio services and are using that as an excuse to pay a lower statutory mechanical license fee. The music publishers don't like this. And so what they've said to Congress is, look, we want you to get rid of this license, or at least allow songwriters to opt out of the compulsory license and allow songwriters to just negotiate in the free market, right? If I write a song right now, if you write a song right now, if Dear Marcia puts out a song, Ryan Kairalla can cover that Dear Marcia song without getting Dear Marcia's permission, and you get paid the royalty from Spotify. And that's not a particularly high royalty. And so what David Israelite is saying is that Dear Marcia should have the right to opt out of the compulsory system and negotiate with Ryan Kairalla directly to get a license for a cover song. And I mean, I'm sort of torn on it because on one hand, I generally like free markets and I want to be able to respect the right of copyright holders to negotiate the license they want for their copyrighted works. On the other hand, I also acknowledge that this compulsory license system that basically allows people to cover songs whenever they want is a valuable thing for indie artists. If indie artists actually had to pay market rate for licenses to cover songs, they wouldn't be able to cover that many songs because indie artists, by and large, don't have a lot of money to pay for cover song licenses. So I don't know if I want to live in a world where the compulsory mechanical license goes away.
I'm really torn on this, but one thing, there's an old interview with Prince, and the listeners all know that, like, if there's somebody I love more than Taylor Swift, it's Prince, where he brought up an interesting point that the compulsory license, like the structure we're talking about, only exists really in music. Like, I can't do that with a movie.
Yeah,
I can't do that with a piece of literature. If I want to make a movie out of a book, whoever owns the rights to that book, they get to negotiate, and they can ultimately just say no, and there's nothing you can do about it. And Prince had made the point that he didn't like when some people did his songs because, well, for various reasons, he didn't like it. And he wanted the ability to say no. And that really stuck with me because I agree with you that I want indie artists to be able to cover those songs and do that and help their careers. But I also think the creators should have a say in it. And also, if I can just be old man yelling at clouds, I'm kind of curious if the music industry would be better if there were less covers. Because like right now, I feel like everything, like a year ago, Ryan, you and I were complaining on the air about movies and how they're just recycling old movies over and over and over again. And now it's like, I don't know if I need to hear like the death metal version of Hit Me Baby One More Time. I think I would rather just hear a death metal band just write something new.
Bite your tongue. I want to hear that cover right now.
Okay, it's actually pretty dope.
I mean, you could have picked a better example to make your point than what sounds like the coolest cover in the world.
I mean, like, I have two minds about it, but I do think that it's interesting that this only really pertains to music, and other artists have the ability to blanket say no if they so choose. And I also am curious, would the music industry be better with fewer covers? I don't know.
That is a really good point you made. That this compulsory mechanical license system only exists for this one kind of copyrighted work. You're so right about that. There's no like automatic license to like remake a movie or to turn a movie into turn like a book into a movie or something like that. All of those things you have to negotiate with copyright holders. This is the one license where you don't have to negotiate with copyright holders, where the law basically says, even without the copyright holder's permission, you can make a cover song as long as you pay this very small fee, which, by the way, is a non-existent fee for the cover artist when we're talking about Spotify, because Spotify pays the royalty. And I mean, I just know how important cover songs are to indie creators. Like, I mean, think about how many artists today, like the ones that are making it through TikTok or YouTube, every single one of them, I feel like, is breaking because the ones who break are breaking because they covered somebody else's song, right? Like Justin Bieber, when he got his start, was covering songs on YouTube. A lot of these young artists are first getting recognition by doing covers. Most of the time, people on TikTok aren't going to want to hear your originals until like you become more recognizable. They want to hear you cover somebody else's song first, and only then, when you've kind of built your fan base, are they going to want to hear something original from you. So I feel like the cover song, and particularly the royalty-free license cover song that the compulsory mechanical license provides, is such an important stepping stone for early career musicians to build that initial fan base, that I'm not completely convinced it's going to be a good thing if it goes away.
I don't know. And I also think here's another thing. You guys pay attention to Ryan here because the dude knows what he's talking about. Don't do what I did. I released just a cover of my solo band of Fall Out Boy's Sugar We're Going Down Swinging. And I like went through Harry Fox and did like all of the stuff I needed to do. And then I got to Spotify and I was like, oh, I didn't have to do that.
So for the viewers and listeners, what he's talking about there is when you want to get a mechanical license through, say, like, let's say you're getting your mechanical license not to put it on Spotify, because, right, if you do it through Spotify, Spotify is going to take care of all of that. But let's say you want to make CDs of your cover, or you want to make your cover available on digital download through something like iTunes. I'm not even sure if iTunes still exists, but if you want to download,
because I wanted to let people download it from my website.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so in those cases, you have to pay for the mechanical license. And one of the ways that you can pay the mechanical license is to go through what's called the Harry Fox agency. And you can, you can set it up that way. There's also a platform called Easy Song Licensing that can help manage this for you, and I recommend that. But what you're saying, Zach, is like you went through Harry Fox, even though you were mainly going to just put this out on Spotify, and you were like, oh, wait, if this is just for streaming, I didn't need to do all this.
I was like, I'll probably sell a few on my website, so I'm going to pay for it. You know how many I sold on my website, Ryan?
How many?
0. Nobody buys stuff off your website for music. Like, I would have been, maybe if I had a Bandcamp, because Bandcamp, I think, is more used than people buying from websites. But, like, no, it was stupid. I should have just put it on Spotify and called it a day. That's what I should have done.
Well, I mean, 0 times the 9.1 cent statutory rate. I feel like the songwriters made quite a payday. That was good day for Pete Wentz. He made a lot of money off you from that cover.
Hey, let me tell you, because whenever you do this stuff, you gotta like go through and find every songwriter. There's like 5 songwriters on that song. That whole band is credited. You gotta go find them all. Yeah, it's a good time.
Oh yeah, no, it's a homework. It's doing it through Harry Fox, kind of a pain. A lot of work there.
Yeah, rock and roll, baby.
All of that being said, like, disclaimer here, for the viewers and listeners who want to make covers, everything that we've talked about in terms of compulsory mechanical license is just when you record a true cover. So you can't use any of the original master recording. It's your own instruments, it's your own cover, it's your own singing. And it's only if you're going to release the song on Spotify or Apple Music or making vinyls or CDs. If you want to make a music video of the song, you have to negotiate that of the cover. You have to negotiate that with the songwriter separately. If you want to publicly perform your cover, then you got to look into like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, make sure the venue has the appropriate licenses. So this can get really confusing. Music copyright is a pain in the butt. Make sure you talk to a lawyer before you do anything with your music to make sure that you do everything the right way there. Real quick, before we bring in Dr. Lancaster, one more quick topic that I wanted to mention, just to kind of pick up a thread that we've been talking about for the last few months. We've talked a lot on this show about sort of lamenting the excessive monopolistic power that Live Nation Ticketmaster has had over the concert industry. Basically, the fact that this is an organization that controls a majority of the concert venues in the U.S., has deals with most of the artists, exclusive merch deals and all that stuff, and basically is, leading to higher prices, right? If you're the only game in town for ticketing, it tends to make concert tickets more expensive. And for a long time, we've heard that the government wants to do something about this. There's been lots of congressional hearings, no action yet, except until now, when this week the Justice Department announced that it has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Ticketmaster and Live Nation, alleging that it has a monopoly in the live ticket industry. To quote Attorney General Merrick Garland, quote, "It is time to break up Live Nation Ticketmaster." The lawsuit goes on to claim that the Ticketmaster is using a flywheel system that, quote, "captures fees and revenue from concert fans and sponsorship, uses that revenue to lock up artists to exclusive promotion deals, and then uses its powerful cache of live content to sign venues into long-term exclusive ticketing deals, thereby starting the cycle all over again." And I welcome this lawsuit, and all I can say is it's about time.
Yeah, what took so freaking long? Like this has been obvious for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Last time I was on, I complained about Congress. I'm going to do it again. Cool. I'm glad you guys are talking about it, but like until something really happens, I guess I'm not, Congress is my anger is misplaced at Congress at the current moment. Merrick Garland, please do something ASAP. We need this done.
My anger is actually firmly with Congress. Like the fact that it took the Justice Department to have to step in and try to make this an antitrust suit when Congress has been telling us for a year that they were going to create legislation for this, right? I mean, and I've talked about this a lot, but like, how annoying is it that Congress holds all these hearings and all of the members of Congress on both sides of the aisle get to do their grandstanding and make their cute Taylor Swift puns, to get like clicks or whatever. And then when it comes time to actually legislate, nothing. Bills get proposed, nothing gets a vote, nothing gets passed, even though everybody seems to think this is a problem. And so when this was a pretty obvious slam dunk for bipartisan legislation, it doesn't happen. And so now the Justice Department has to try to step in and use existing law, even though we've had plenty of opportunities to create specific law to specifically address the specific problem that Live Nation and Ticketmaster has imposed upon this country and the music industry.
See, and this is where I got to calm you down, Ryan. And I can't believe we're in a position where I'm saying you need to be nicer to Congress. Have you heard the fable of the scorpion and the frog?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is I can't believe Congress is doing the thing they always do.
Yeah.
They're just stinging us over and over again, all right? Justice Department, step up, all right? We need a pinch hitter. Congress is not going to do it.
So this is my fault for setting the expectations too high for Congress.
Yes, you want Congress to be functional. I'm telling you that Scorpion's going to sting, man.
I should know by now, as a man of the law, you're a man of the law, We certainly know how Washington works. I actually interned in Congress for a summer, so I should know how Washington works. And I should know at this point that Washington's job isn't to make laws. It's just to hold hearings where everybody can grandstand and make cute Taylor Swift lyrics and accomplish nothing. And then once again, Merrick Garland has to come in and save us. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to be joined by Dr. Elise Lancaster to talk about the Taylor Swift course. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan Kairalla, PA. Ryan Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. My goodness, the commenters are coming in fast and heavy with their favorite ridiculous cover songs. We got somebody saying, remember when Seether did a metal cover of Careless Whisper? No, I don't remember that, but it will be the very first thing I stream
shout out.
as soon as we get out of here. Somebody else writes in, there's a very cool cover of Aqua's Candyman. Well, you didn't have to tell me it was a very cool cover. Anything that Aqua does is going to be very cool. You could have just said Aqua did a cover of Candyman. I would have assumed the very cool part of it would have been implied. I mean, we could do a whole show on like our favorite ridiculous cover songs. When I was in high school, or maybe no, it was high school, and producer Lauren would drive me to school every day because we went to the same high school. She would play this album of this punk band that
Me first.
Okay, how the hell did you know what I was gonna say already?
Dude, when you say punk, when we're talking about covers and you talk about punk covers, I know you're going to Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Yes!
They are the perfect.
Yes!
They are the perfect
Our
band for that.
drag. I remember that.
Lauren would play this album of this band, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, doing covers of Broadway show tunes.
Yep.
And like, I swear to God, I spent a whole academic year driving, like my sister driving me to high school, and it was either that album or Madonna's Immaculate Collection. It was a very weird year for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, so like all this is meant to say, I love a world where people can freely cover songs with impunity. And I'm not, even though like I also want to respect copyright holders' rights, I don't know if I want to lose out on just all these crazy covers we get to have right now because of the way the law's built. Welcome
that's
back
a good
to
point.
Welcome.
Don't take away my Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
That's right. Did you think about Me First in the Gimme Gimmes in your crusade to destroy the compulsory mechanical license? Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Zach Sloan. Thank you so much for checking us out wherever you're checking us out, whether it's on our new home at volume.com or on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, or wherever the heck they're putting us these days. Sirius XM 145, so glad to be there. Much love to Slam Radio. And thank you, of course, for checking us out on all major podcasting platforms. Let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week.
In the land of Swifties, where the pop queens play, Professor Lancaster, she knows the way. She's got the info, she's got the scoop, breaking down the knowledge, keeping us in the loop.
Our guest this week is an associate professor at the School of Communication at University of Miami who focuses her research on advertising and social media. This fall, our guest will be teaching the mastermind of the Taylor Swift brand at a class that explores the advertising and strategic communication strategies that Swift has used to captivate her audience and foster brand loyalty. You can find out more about her work by visiting com.miami.edu. We are happy to welcome Dr. Elise Lancaster on to Break the Business. Hello, Professor.
Hi, welcome. I mean, thank you for having me tonight. Sorry, it's a little late.
It is late. We're sorry about that.
That's okay, no worries.
We're doing our darndest here to accommodate our people we love on the West Coast, and so unfortunately for us East Coasters, you're in Miami, I'm in Miami. We got to stay up a little bit past our bedtime, but we appreciate you toughing it out for us.
No problem. I'm actually thinking about covers and Glee, so I started thinking Glee songs in my head when you guys were talking about covers.
Gosh,
Best show ever.
Zach, we didn't even think about Glee. You're ready to destroy the compulsory.
Don't you bring up Glee to me, Ryan Kairalla. I would destroy Glee had I had the opportunity. With the exception of Neil Patrick Harris singing Dream On. That was amazing. But everything else can burn.
Well, good. I'm glad we agree on one thing there, because, that was pretty rad. All right. Thank you for joining in our silliness, Professor. You've been teaching at teaching advertising for over 20 years now. And I'm just curious, what sort of inspired you to take the material that you've taught in this course and to teach it this fall through the lens of Taylor Swift?
Well, first of all, I blame it on my 17-year-old daughter. So she's been listening to Taylor Swift since she's 4 years old. And I've always known like the basic ones, You Belong With Me, Mine. And we got tickets to see her in Miami this October. And so my daughter said, okay, now Mom, you cannot go to the Eras Tour concert knowing 4 Taylor Swift songs. You have to learn all of them. So she made me a playlist and I started walking, doing my exercise, listening to Taylor Swift. And then she said, okay, Mom, we also have to go see the Taylor Swift movie, the Eras Tour movie. Okay, fine. She dragged me along. And I swear to God, when I was watching that movie, I just about fell out my seat. I'm like, no wonder. I finally understood like what all the hype was about. And I started listening to her with gusto. And I'm walking one day and I'm thinking about the summer classes that I'm going to be teaching in advertising strategy and social media. And all of a sudden the idea for this class came into my head, because who better to teach students about how to brand, how to build a loyal target audience and how to use social media to communicate than Taylor Swift. And from there, I just had these ideas for lectures and I reached out to my department chair and my dean, and they were really excited about the idea. And so I've been developing the class ever since.
And
so cool.
Basically, it is really cool. And I mean, once this class got announced, the media coverage was almost immediate. Like, I mean, I was seeing this covered in all sorts of national publications, people really interested in this course. Were you surprised by how quickly the country got excited about what you're teaching this fall?
I mean, I'd like to say no, but I mean, I kind of was, because I'm not the first person to teach a Taylor Swift class, although I do think that this is the first one that's focusing on branding and social media, which is what I really love about it. But, Taylor Swift was getting ready to release the Tortured Poets Department about, a couple months before I came up with the idea for this class. And so as we got closer and closer to the release of that album, it didn't really surprise me that suddenly the media was interested in this course, because Taylor Swift was very top of mind. Everyone was talking about her. So it kind of fit right in with what was going on at that moment in the news. Everybody continues to talk about Taylor. And now that the album's been released, people are still talking about Taylor. And as someone who's listened to the album many, many times, I think actually it's probably her best one. So I've had to change a lot. Yeah, I've had to change my syllabus quite a bit, because now I've had to incorporate all that into it. So it's been fun.
Wow. I mean, that a hot take on Taylor Swift's discography. All right. Well, give us a little bit of a snippet of the kind of stuff that you're going to be teaching in this course. Can you give us one example of the sort of unique and effective communication strategies that Taylor Swift employs?
I mean, Taylor Swift, I think the thing that is most impressive about her is the way that she's been able to garner such a wide audience that's so incredibly loyal, right? Most brands are lucky if they can, just sort of get one niche of an audience to be loyal to their brand. But Taylor has somehow managed to capture this multi-generational, global, multicultural audience. You see people in the audience, you see moms and their little daughters and granddaughters and grandmothers, and they're all like singing these songs together. And, she's just been able to communicate with all of her fans, regardless of what demographic they're in a way that gets them really excited doing. I mean, you know, I'm not going to age myself, but I'm significantly older than my daughter, and I'm in a number of Gen X Swiftie groups on Facebook. And seeing people my age act the way my daughter acts, it's incredible. You know, you don't really expect that, you know, Taylor Swift, somebody who's 34 years old at the height of her career, would be, you know, as exciting to people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s as she is to people in their teens and 20s. So I think that's something that she's just really done that's very unique and something that brands can learn from, right? How do you come up with something that captures the attention of so many people and just makes them incredibly loyal?
But how does she do that? Because that sort of cross demographic, cross generational appeal is something that even eludes the most famous of the famous artists, the most famous of the famous brands. What is it about her and what she's doing that makes her just as intriguing to my 13-year-old niece as it does to like our grandparents?
I think it's a lot of things. It's her showmanship, number one, but I guess a lot of artists have showmanship, right? So that's not unique to Taylor Swift. I do think it has to do with her, you know, her musicality and her lyrics, right? She's got lyrics that relate to anybody, right? If you listen to some of her songs, even though she's talking about her own experiences, we've all had those experiences. You know, 13-year-olds have breakups and 50-year-olds have breakups, and we look back on relationships that, you know, soured, and the things that she's writing about are so filled with emotion. All of us can connect to it. And so she, you know, and just all of the things that she does in terms of her marketing and on her website and on her Instagram feed. I mean, she's constantly, you know, doing things that make people curious about what's coming next. She lays these Easter eggs, and it doesn't matter if you're 50 or you're 15, you want to know what's coming next. Everybody is waiting to find out when she's going to release Reputation, Taylor's version, and her, you know, Taylor Swift, Taylor's version. And why do we care? We care because even just the brilliance behind her creating Taylor's version and the reason she did it, and female empowerment. And there's just so much behind everything she does. And I think people of all ages can just relate to that. They root for her because she's overcome a lot of stuff. And I think she serves as an example for a lot of people who are facing similar adversity.
One more question before I turn things over to my distinguished colleague, Zach Sloan here. Are there any lessons that the indie creators that listen and watch this program can learn from Taylor Swift? Because obviously a lot of the things that Taylor Swift can do are a consequence of the fact that she is insanely talented, has an unlimited budget, a team of people. Are there any lessons that, you know, if you are just a solo artist DIYing it, that you can learn from Taylor Swift's techniques that you can apply to your own career?
I would say one of the most inexpensive ways to do it is just to leverage your social media platforms. You know, if you've got loyal followers, communicate with them, give them, you know, exclusive content, give them a reason to follow you and comment on your videos and share your content with other people, because that's really where most of the audiences are at. They're looking at TikTok videos, and they're looking at Instagram, and they're following what the artists are doing. And if you're communicating with them through social media, you know, there's going to be that connection where you feel like you're having this interpersonal interaction with the stars, even though they're not necessarily communicating with you one-on-one. That's something Taylor Swift, I think, does really well. She communicates through social media, but in a way that seems personal. Every person that reads it thinks that she's talking directly to them. And she shares just enough of her personal life with her target audience that they feel like they really know her. So that's something else indie creators can do. Obviously, you don't want to let people in all the way, but there's ways that you can connect with them where you can give them, you know, tidbits of the background on your music, or where the inspiration for the stuff came from, where they feel like they're really getting to know you beyond just the music you're creating.
Okay, let's go back. I hear what you're saying. I love like doing this with your followers. How does a smaller indie creator build those followers? Because I think that's the $1 million question.
Yeah,
and then I have a silly question.
I like silly's good, but you know, I mean, there's it really depends on the demographics of the artist, right? I mean, if it's a younger audience, you have to be where they are. So, you know, if your audience is spending, you know, 15 hours a day scrolling through TikTok, then that's where you've got to be to reach them. You know, it's finding followers is not always easy. If they do like the music, and they are, you know, streaming it, and they're listening to you, encouraging them through your social media to continue to do so, having artists that, support you, share your music on their social media, encourage them to have users follow you. I mean, that's another, and that's something else that Taylor Swift has done successfully is, a lot of artists that are coming up the ladder behind her, she's really supportive of them. And so I think if indie artists have connections that are, a couple rungs above them on the ladder, maybe, having them leverage their audience to try to help you gain one for yourself.
So what I'm hearing is that we should invite Taylor Swift to play Women Who Rock the Rockies. I love where your head is at.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm sure her publicist would just jump all over that.
I love it. It's a 600 seat venue. I think we could sell it out.
She might be able to fill it.
Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay. I have another question for you because I have vulnerability fatigue. If I have to hear another artist be like, guys, I'm just going to share something about myself, and then they like go on to say the same cliche thing that every other artist is saying, I tune them out. But Taylor Swift has somehow, she has avoided that. Like when she talks, I still listen. Even when she's being vulnerable, it never comes off as cheesy. What is the secret sauce to that? How has she done that from a marketing perspective? Is that calculated? How do you calculate that? Please give me all the answers.
I believe me, I would love to be able to ask Taylor that myself, and I hope she visits my class so I can do that. I'm just putting a little plug there, but I think it's just a vulnerability. I don't think she shares information just for the sake of sharing it. I do think she ties it to the music that she's singing, and it gives people insight into the song, right? So when she's sitting at, she's doing the acoustic section in her Eras tour, and she's sitting at the piano and she's just talking to them. It's not, I will say this, everything Taylor Swift does, she doesn't do anything by accident. There's a reason why she's a mastermind. And, the things that the planning that goes into every single thing she does is beyond the scope of my little brain to even imagine. But when she does speak to her audience, it is with a sense of vulnerability, and it's just with just a genuine honesty. It doesn't come across as being, superficial or, okay, I'm just going to say this so that they'll like me and they'll follow me and they'll listen to my music. People just connect to the vulnerability. I think that she shows both in her concerts and in her interviews when she does interviews on TV, and in the lyrics of her songs too. There's just a lot that she unpacks there.
All right. Can I ask my silly question now, Ryan?
Wait, the can Taylor Swift play Women Who Rock the Rockies?
No, that was
your
serious.
Silly
that was
okay.
Silly.
That was serious. All right, I'm just making notes. Okay,
Taylor, come on, you want to jam? All right, you said that Tortured Poets, in your opinion, was her best album.
Hot take.
I think it's a defensible take. I'm not gonna quibble with that. What I want to do is make your next class, when your students come across this, erupt. What is Taylor's worst album? Go.
What?
Oh shit!
How could you? Her daughter's never going to speak to her again.
You know what? Okay, she doesn't have a worst album, but if I had to rank them,
the answer is Reputation.
So the
Reputation is a masterpiece, and I never want to hear that again. Ryan.
Oh hell, no. Reputation was my favorite until Tortured Poets. So don't go there. Don't go there. I would probably say Debut, right? Her debut album, only because it was, she sounds
She
young.
was a kid.
Right, exactly. And I can't wait to see what she does when she records it, because that's going to be the biggest distinction, I think. I can't wait to see it. But right now, if I listened to all of her albums, that's the one I would listen to last. But it's a great album, and it just showcased how much talent she had at such a young age. I mean, we knew even back then that she was going to be something.
I will not tolerate this teardrops on my guitar slander.
I'm not going to tolerate a Reputation slander. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea I was going to get attacked so bad for that. Man. I thought that was like the general consensus about that album. Like, look, all of her stuff is great, but I thought that tends to be the album that people find most polarizing. That's what
great art does. Great art is polarizing. What are we talking about? Doctor, please put this man in his place.
Ryan, don't make me bring out the snakes, man. I mean, no, Reputation is just, it's just, that album is just, it's badass. And that album also, because it came after she had gone into sort of hiding for a while, and this was just like people weren't sure if she was even going to come back, and she didn't just come back; she came back with a vengeance. And that album really propelled the whole second half of her career. So, and again, those songs are just awesome. They're just fantastic.
I'm curious about something. The class, which by the way, from what I've seen online, is like packed to the gills. Like they're going to need the basketball arena at UM to fill this class. There's so many students who want to take it. I noticed that it's available to students outside of the communication school at UM because of how popular it is. Are there lessons that non-advertising students can learn from this class? What can a bio major or an English major learn from what you're going to be teaching?
Well, again, at the heart of this class is branding, right? Understanding how to brand. And every single student, whether they're an English major or a history major or a business major or an engineering major or architecture, at some point they're going to go out into the world and they're going to have to brand themselves. They're going to have to position themselves in the marketplace to get a job. They're going to need to know how to use social media to find the right audience for what they want to do. And so hopefully this class will give them a foundation to be able to build their own brand when they, leave the classroom at the end of the semester.
That's really excellent. And my silly question is, can I guest lecture in your course? I have a faculty appointment at UM. I'm just down the street, just putting that out into the universe.
I would have said yes if you hadn't dissed Reputation. But now I'm second guessing the whole thing.
What have I done? Now,
I love you.
Now I'll never get to lecture in the basketball arena with the 50,000 students that are going to be signing up for this course. Our guest has been Professor Elise Lancaster. She's teaching the mastermind of the Taylor Swift brand at the University of Miami this fall and just sharing some fantastic knowledge with us. Find out more by visiting com.miami.edu. Professor, we got one last question for you that we ask all the guests that come on this program. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Just do what you love and do it the best you can, and make sure that you find your audience and give them a reason to want to continue to follow you and support you. And if you're doing what you love and you do it to the best of your ability, eventually you will find success, especially if you don't give up.
Right on. This has been a real blast. I would love, in all seriousness, if later in the semester, maybe halfway through the fall, you want to stop by again, let us know how the course is going. I'd love to have you as just sort of our resident Taylor Swift expert whenever Taylor Swift says or does anything, which basically happens on a weekly basis. Love to get the good professor's perspective on it. If, so don't be a stranger.
Absolutely.
All right. We'd love to have you on again much more often. This has been a real blast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Dr. Elise Lancaster, everybody. I had no idea my Reputation take was going to be so polarizing.
I'm playing this episode for my middle school students that I teach just so that they will finally love me. Because you will be the new enemy.
I do not want the ire of the Swifties. All right. All I'm saying is before the Swifties jump down my throat about what apparently was a toxic take by me, judge me by my body of work. You will find 400 plus episodes of me being a Swiftie, me apologetically defending her, loving everything she does, besmirching anybody who ever dares criticize her in the slightest. Okay, don't judge me by my one moment of weakness. All right, I there's a whole context here that we should be appreciating, and that's me being an unapologetic lover of Taylor Swift.
Middle schoolers around the world.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
You know what to do.
No, don't even joke about that. I'm making enemies of everybody. Like between getting Taylor Swift's fans mad at me and getting OpenAI and Sam Altman mad at me. I'm in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, when did you become Lex Luthor? This is wild.
I said it during the Colonel Jessup speech. Son, we live in a world that has problems, and those problems need to be solved by incels with technology. Yeah, that's gonna get me in trouble. Let me just say this, going back to our A Few Good Men dialogue there. I am blown away by how well written that was. That GPT-4o is insane, because we've been doing AI Overlord Tip of the Week for a year now. We've done about 20, 30, 40 of these at this point. And I can tell you, the early ones that we did, where it was ChatGPT 3 or maybe even like the one before 3, those were pretty bad. And I had to do a lot of punch up on the back end to make it something that was consumable for radio audiences. Because it was like, oh, this is terrible, but let me fix it up and make it at least half good. This one, I barely had to touch. This ChatGPT 4.0 is something else, man. It is really creative. I didn't even think I gave it like a very good prompt, and it knew exactly what I wanted and delivered that really good scene.
It was uncanny. I'm really excited because I'm a big fan of using AI technology. I think it's really helpful. I also am like, oh God, what
Terrified,
what is this going to do? I've seen Terminator 2 too many times, and I'm worried. I'm not as worried about Skynet as I am about the Swifties coming for you, but I'm worried about Skynet.
Yeah, if I'm making my ranking of things most likely to destroy me, the Swifties are definitely at the top. OpenAI just below it for sure. Like I mean, I'm aware of what the greater threat is here, Zach Sloan. So again, for the Swifties, wholeheartedly apologize. Please don't dox me, okay? I will play just Taylor Swift music on my house on continuous loop as penance. I will like open my eyeballs Clockwork Orange style and watch the Eras Tour movie on continuous loop as penance, okay? Our thanks to Dr. Elise Lancaster, producer Lauren, Zach Sloan, and thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. Mwah! We love you, and we'll see you next week.